If you're thinking about becoming an electrician, don't apply anywhere just yet. There are several different ways to get into the trade, and the path you choose can really affect how much you make, the type of work you do, and even how quickly you become licensed. I'm breaking down the 6 main ways to become an electrician, so you can decide which one's right for you. The first pathway is your traditional apprenticeship. This is by far the most common route, where you're essentially hired by an electrical company. You are registered as an apprentice and you work under licensed electricians. This is where you also go to work and school periodically. Depends where your schooling starts. So if you start before you work, it could be like a 6-month course like I did. But if you're going back for 2nd, 3rd, 4th year, the school time typically runs around like 10 weeks. And then at the end of your 4th year, this is where you would write your IP exam to get your Red Seal certification. The pros about this pathway is that you're getting paid as you're learning. And also to add on to that is that you're not only being paid in money, but also you're receiving experience. You're learning how things are working. You're gaining experience that are essential for the trade that will eventually build and help you get better in the long term. Every day you have real world experience at work, so you're learning things that you typically wouldn't really learn at school, but more on the job site or wherever it is that you're working. So that's always cool. It's also nice because you most likely won't have school debt because you're going to work and then you're coming back. So if you're going back to school, you will, depending on your financial situation, you are to have probably enough money to keep going back to school so you won't end up in debt. And also a nice thing is that your employer might help you with your schooling in the sense that they might sponsor you, so pay for your course. There are a few cons when it comes to this pathway, and the first one would definitely have to be finding your first employer could be difficult. If you're doing this pathway, you will probably most likely end up with a non-union company, so just like your average electrical company in town, and sometimes it can be really hard. And especially nowadays, you might think it's easy to get a job, right? Oh, because they're in demand, right? But the truth is that not necessarily my experience, thankfully, but I've heard, like, I have a friend where he applied to hundreds of like electrical companies and he still hasn't gotten one. So there'll be some people who haven't gotten the opportunity to actually work, but finding your first employer could be hard. Once you get your first job with your first employer, it's obviously easier from there because you could hopefully stick with them if you don't get laid off for the rest of your apprenticeship. Depending on your location, work can also be seasonal. And the last con I'd have to add on here is that while you are learning, you are also still expected quality work. I've had a few journeymen and licensed electricians that I've worked under, and they say, I often forget that you guys don't know everything, right? Because to them, they just think, okay, they know everything, right? So sometimes they'll expect you as well to know certain things. So sometimes that could suck because they might be looking for quality work when you're also still learning. So your second pathway is through a foundations or pre-apprentice program. So this is also kind of similar to what I did because I had a foundations course. And essentially what this is that college teachers or professors at an institution will essentially just give you a rundown about the trade. They'll teach you things like electrical theory, electrical code. You will also practice wiring, safety training, and tool usage. Basically all the essentials that you would need to know before you get hired. It's basically like a rundown crash course of what it's like to be an electrician, or just telling you things that you should know before you actually go out and work. This is for people who have no electrical experience at all. I definitely fit in that category. I've never had any electrical or trades experience. I did this route because I took a 6-month foundations course at a local university. It also helps people find an employer because you have a bit more knowledge than the person who just kind of applied to a company before going to school. Also, this is a good path for high school graduates because you're enrolling into a school. You might need certain credentials to qualify for a course. So if you have a high school diploma and you did decent, then there you go. The pros about this pathway is that it definitely does give you more confidence because you at least have an understanding of what you're getting yourself into. It makes you more employable because your employer might see you as more knowledgeable than the average guy just applying from nowhere. And it's a lot less overwhelming because you are stepping into a more familiar environment that you were in when you were in school rather than something completely new and learning everything on the site. The cons though is that this does cost money and it's tuition, so you could be spending to like a couple to few $1,000s just for a little course. So it does cost money, so that might be a turnoff for some people. You're also not earning as you're attending school. There is a way around this though. Like if you have EI saved up, then you can get EI. That's at least what I did when I went for 2nd year. But the company itself does not pay you directly. Also, the school does not guarantee employment. So you can spend money and get all this knowledge, but it doesn't promise you a job. The third pathway is through a union apprenticeship. This is where you apply directly to the union and you go through a series of interviews and aptitude testing. The union essentially places you with contractors. And I would say that the pros about this is that it does have pretty good wages. In the union, you would typically have higher wages than your average non-union electrician or apprentice or whatever. You get great benefits and you get a pension. You get high quality training. You also get exposure to large commercial and industrial projects. The cons, I would say though, is that it is very competitive to get into. Your work availability depends highly on the work that's available. It has less flexibility when choosing employees. And I think you're also a lot likely to get laid off with a union because of their seniority system. So if you're just starting out, you are like the first person or like the first group of people to get laid off. So that kind of sucks. It has great things like the benefits, wages, and pension, but it's also very unstable in that sense. The fourth pathway is through CourseCareers. It is another option to prepare for the trade online before applying. And instead of going to trade school, you build the knowledge that your employers are looking for before you land your first apprenticeship, which CourseCareers is also the sponsor of this video. Relating back to what I said about how you have to spend a lot of money and tuitions can go up to a few $1,000s just for a little short-term course, making trade school not convenient for everyone, especially if you're on a budget. Nor does it teach you any of the essential things to know, how to apply, and things to know to get hired. You still need to know how to get hired, reach out to employers, and stand out during the hiring process. CourseCareers offers the same training, helps you learn the terminology, prepares you with the skills and terminology to better understand the trade and apply for electrical jobs. CourseCareers includes a career launchpad that helps with the hiring process, including resume creation, cold outreach, and other steps to help you get interviews. CourseCareers also includes interview preparation, helping you know what to say and how to present yourself to help you in the hiring and interview process to increase the chances of you actually getting a job. So you're going into the interview knowing exactly how to present yourself, know what to say, unlike the average Joe who just goes in there with no experience about the trade or about how to actually get a job when talking to an employer. The goal of CourseCareers is to help people get their first apprenticeship without needing to attend a traditional trade school. This is great and it's perfect for people who can't afford the trade school or who don't have a trade school nearby. Also, at least in my area, it is incredibly hard to get into a trade school. It is packed. There are so many people on wait lists that you have to wait up to a year. But with CourseCareers, you skip all of that and you do it online, completely on your time, making you get way ahead of other people. It's also for people who have applied to dozens of companies but still haven't gotten hired. Also for people who want to increase their chances before even applying. It is much cheaper than your traditional trade school, self-paced, and focuses to not only prepare you for the job itself, but to actually get hired. It covers the hiring process from start to finish. A little things to know about CourseCareers before jumping straight into it is that it's not a replacement for an apprenticeship. You still need an employer. You still have to put yourself out there and actually apply. And you should think of it as a way to prepare yourself before you actually go and apply. So you're familiar with the trade and you are prepared and have the confidence on how to go about a hiring process with a company. You can click my link in the description to get free access to an intro course and $50 off your whole course. Don't miss this opportunity and click that link if you're interested. Your fifth pathway of becoming an electrician is through an industrial or company apprenticeship. Large companies can hire apprentices directly, such as manufacturing plants, mines, utilities, and mills. Essentially, what you'll be doing is a little bit different than the normal and average electrician or electrical apprentice. You'll be working on motors, PLCs, troubleshooting, maintenance, and automation. The pros about this is that it is stable work. It usually pays quite a bit higher and you learn specialized skills. The cons though is that it's a little bit harder to get into in a sense that they would choose you and that it might be a little bit competitive. You have a lot less exposure to residential work and like the basic stuff that an electrician should know. And you can become specialized a little bit too early. The final pathway that I'm going to be talking about is a military electrician. The military will essentially train electricians. You also serve while you're working. So you're also gaining experience in the electrical trade while you're serving in the military, and the skills that you gain can transfer to civilian careers. The pros about this is that you are paid during your training. You have travel opportunities, benefits, and leadership development. The cons though is that you have to have a commitment to the military. You have less control in terms of where you work, and it's also just not for everyone. So which pathway should you choose? If you're a high school student, I would definitely recommend through the straight up apprenticeship where you just hire straight into a company, or the foundations. If you can't find an employer, then the foundation program is good because you get the understanding. I would also highly recommend CourseCareers, not just because they're the sponsor of this video, but it's the much cheaper and more convenient way to go about a foundations program like trade school, completely on your own time and a lot cheaper. If you want great wages and benefits, then union is the way to go. If you're interested in automation and not necessarily a lot of just residential and the copy paste stuff, then industrial is definitely for you. And if you want military experience, then the military electrician is the way to go. You're gonna earn while you're learning in a field that is going to be constantly in demand. And if you have any questions about the apprenticeship or anything about like that, leave them down in the comments down below. I do pretty much respond to every comment and I look at them all. So be sure to leave your questions down below and I'll be sure to answer you. So that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys did enjoy and found it helpful. Any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments down below. Be sure to check out CourseCareers. Definitely check them out. Don't pass by it. You can use my link down below. See y'all in the next one, Lord willing. Peace out.